And a lot of places weren't reopening, or, were finding it hard to pivot and stuff like that. And so
They were,
there
and
was
some
sort of,
places were like closing in the hopes that, well, we'll just last
yeah,
this few weeks and then we'll reopen normal, right?
right,
And not even worry
exactly.
about this. Yeah.
Yeah. And so after like a couple of months of the shutdown, the government said, okay, restaurants can reopen their dining rooms again. And it was, they said that they could reopen them with like a limited,
Yeah.
a limited amount of people, and everything.
Is it 25%, right? Didn't it do
I
25,
think they started
50,
with
75?
yeah, yeah, 75, and then back down to 50 or back down to 25.
Yeah,
It went back and forth a lot.
totally.
But the thing was, we sorry, I have to look at this really quick because my okay,
No,
sorry.
no worries.
So we I thought to myself, you know what, this is an important part of this story, is these restaurants reopening, how they're doing it, why they're doing it, why some of them aren't doing it, and what they're doing instead in order to stay solvent. And so I knew, let's see here, who did I shot? Oh, I shot with Kevin Fink at Hestia first. Kevin and I had shot together a few times, and I love his food, Emmer and Rye. And Hestia was Hestia was the last restaurant that my wife and I went to before the shutdown.
Oh, wow.
And it was one of the best meals we had ever had. It was remarkable. And so when I heard that they were going to reopen, I reached out and said, hey, listen, can I be there opening day? Can I just, without any sort of, I had no idea what it was going to be. I didn't know if it was going to be a series, if it was going to be a feature-length documentary, if it was going to be just a one-off thing I was going to do. I really didn't go into it with any sort of idea, a clear idea of what I was going to do. I just knew opening day was going to be important, and I wanted to be there for it.
Yeah.
And they said yes, so I went in. I shot the whole day with them. I interviewed Kevin. I stayed through service and did all of that. And at the same time, Fiore and Adam at Locadoro, I had been talking to them a lot, and they had told me they weren't going to reopen. And so I was like, well, that's interesting. I want to talk to them about that. So
Sure.
I then shot with them for a day and was like, here's, I interviewed them about why. They had already started up with Good Work Austin, starting to make meals for quarantine homeless and for the ASD caregivers and stuff like that. And so I just went in and shot with them and shot them doing that, and kind of to find out why they weren't reopening. And Eric is another person. Eric at the Peach Tortilla is another person who I've shot with a bunch. And he and I were talking, and I said, well, what are you doing? And he's like, well, we're doing this. And I was like, can I come in and shoot with you? And so it just became this thing where, I started thinking like, oh, maybe this is like a feature length documentary. Like maybe this is, an hour and a half of different restaurants doing different things and weaving the stories together. But the one thing I really wanted to be mindful of was I didn't want anyone to feel like their point of view was wrong, or that we were making any sort of judgment about whether you are opening or not opening, or what your policies are, or anything like that. And so I thought, if I merge the stories together, I don't want to cut from one person being like, yeah, we're opening up, we hope this goes great, to another person being like, we're not opening up, this is totally unsafe. Because right now,
Yeah.
I don't want to, there shouldn't be any infighting in the industry right now. Everyone should be coming together,
Yeah.
regardless of what their point of view is. It's about healing this industry. It's about lifting it up. It's about all of that. And so I thought, you know what, I really should make these episodic, and every restaurant is just sort of its own bubble, its own self-contained piece, so that no one feels that we're making any sort of judgment about what they're doing. And so that was really the linchpin, I think, for the whole thing becoming this sort of like episodic web series, was the desire to lift up the industry and make each restaurant feel like this is our thing. We're not being held up against any other restaurants and their ideals. This is just our thing. And so then it became really easy to say, well, hey, can I, I would get in touch with restaurants and say, hey, listen, this is what I'm doing. It takes me a day to shoot it, sometimes a day and a half if I feel like I need to come back and get some extra shots.
Yeah.
We'll do an interview. I'm going to come in and shoot. I'm going to come in early. I'm going to shoot all day with y'all. I'm going to get it. We're going to shoot through service, and then that's it. And pretty much everyone I reached out to was really, really happy to do it, just because I feel like everybody was looking for a way to tell their story. And
did anybody say no? I mean, you don't have to say who, if the name of the play, but did anybody say no?
Nobody said no. Some people just never got back to me, which I assume is just,
got lost. Could have been. Yeah, exactly. That's 100%.
And that's totally like that
Sure.
is 100% valid. But yeah, I just, I feel like everybody had a story to tell, and everybody wanted to tell their story. And
because every place is different, right? Like every place, literally every single food business is different, whether it be a food truck, food trailer, restaurant, you're right. They're all going to be different. And what works for one does not necessarily work for another. And they do have their own unique story and steps of service and and a menu and distribution and sources of where they get their food and the blah, blah, blah. Right. There's just so many different variables that are unique.
And like some restaurants, like for example, we did an episode with ATX Cuisine. It was sort of they're a high-end, elevated kind of restaurant. And for them to come up with a menu that traveled was very difficult.
That's another thing people are not thinking about. Well, they'll just go to go or takeout. Listen, y'all, not every place can make their menu takeout or to go. I've worked for so many restaurants where we didn't even do that because there's too many components. You can't take that to go. Right. It's not going to travel well 45 minutes in a car by the time you get it. So, that hurdle that restaurants had to go through as well of stopping and essentially, like reorganizing everything. That also means you have to reorganize prep, the kitchen, the flow of how things are prepped, even like if you have that set up. So now everything starts to change. And God, it's absolutely amazing what they've gone through.